Thanks, Rose. Good morning, everybody. I wish I knew somebody who could do something about the traffic in Greater Manchester. It's a bit of a come down, Rose, for you, isn't it? You were addressing the UN last week in New York to launch the International Year of the Co-operative, which is fantastic, isn't it? And here you are filling in for me in Manchester. It's really quite a big moment for us, I think. I think there's an alignment of things here right now that means we're in a moment I don't think we're ever going to get again. And my main message to you all this morning is to sort of really make sure all of us see this moment and really understand the significance of what we have in front of us, so that we can hopefully then make the most of it and make it bring profound change to the economy of Greater Manchester, but also the rest of the country. The reason I say that is because obviously we are a city that's in a particularly good moment in terms of where we're going. We've been growing faster than the UK economy for some time now. We are the largest city region economy outside of London and the fastest growing in the UK. And we've been growing, as I say, faster than the UK, which means the gap has been narrowing between ourselves and the rest of the country. And that's not something I've been able to say at many points in my life, nor many others in the room from the northwest of England, but perhaps it's now beginning to be real. So that's a good sort of starting point. But then you look at, obviously, at recent events. We have a government that says now it wants to bring growth to all parts of the country. And a week ago today, I was in Downing Street, and the significance of that is straight away the government has linked growth to further devolution of power. And I think they're making further statements today. There's going to be a very significant devolution bill in the King's speech tomorrow. So that connection has been made, and I think people can see that Greater Manchester has prospered because of the level of devolution that we've had. It's not just kind of wider growth in the economy. Our productivity rate has risen 3 times faster than London. So something clearly is happening here and beginning to happen. You know, we were I'm fortunate that other people here built it before me, but you know, obviously as devolution has spread, we'll see the same effect across the whole of the country, particularly those with devolved combined authorities, and hopefully in time all of the country, as everywhere gets the same or similar measure of devolution. So that evidence has clearly been noted. We have that commitment to growth. I then have got a manifesto that is talking about inclusive growth, because there's a big question then, isn't it, about what kind of growth. There's very different kinds of growth that you can bring, and obviously we were already in this city faced the criticism that this isn't growth that is benefiting everybody. But you know us, we don't want growth that doesn't benefit everybody. That's not the kind of place that we are. And obviously people who've gone before me had to get the place growing at all, because there was not investment coming in. If you go back to the 90s, they had to get something happening. But now something is happening. We have got to make sure that the growth benefits all of our residents and that it is inclusive growth. And so that is another big thing that is one of these stars that is aligning. But then you go even further and you look at the commitment we've got here to establish our business, which I don't know if Rose touched on, but is a platform to support the social economy. Very much driven by Rose, but other colleagues in the room from our social enterprise action group, who've led the call for a vehicle in Greater Manchester to build out the social economy. It was a recommendation in our independent inequalities review coming out of the pandemic, led by Professor Kate Pickett, but we finally now brought it through. So we have a platform that is intended to help network our social economy organisations across the city region, our social enterprises, our co-ops, all of our organisations, so that the existing ones can grow, but also if people are setting up new ones, that it's something that they can do with the support of our business. So that's exciting. And then the final piece that you add into this jigsaw, we have a government manifesto that is talking about doubling the size of the social economy, of the cooperative sector. So if you add all of that together, surely this is the best moment that we will ever get. And I believe it is that, and it's why it's right to be meeting this morning. And we've got to turn the talking into doing. That's what we've got to do. You know, I think, you know, we've lived through a period where we've had to do a lot of talking because we couldn't really do as much doing as we would like. But I do sometimes, as somebody who is a very proud member and supporter of the cooperative movement, think we need to do more doing and sometimes less talking. And that's something that I know Rose, as Chief Executive of Cooperatives UK, feels the same about. So let's kind of see if we can maybe now turn this into tangible actions. Just to let you know where I am in terms of the city region as I go into my third term as mayor. For me, we'll only get the inclusive growth that I spoke about if we fix the fundamentals of life in our city region and actually create a different way of thinking about and running those things. Now, the obvious example is transport, where we've put buses back under public control. And we will complete that on the 5th of January next year. And then the B network will be a London-style system where we have a commitment to low fares. You know, we are absolutely determined to ensure that the profit that we now bring under our banner, because in the old world, the operators in the deregulated world, they could run a very commercial system and the fare box was all theirs, and that went out of Greater Manchester with double-digit profits to people who don't live here largely. Now we control the fare box. So if we get more people using the B network, the proceeds from that can come back into the B network, and that is a very different world, as I'm sure you will appreciate. So I've got my team thinking really creatively about everything we can do to keep those fares low. And one thing that we are hoping to sign off very shortly with our credit unions is a new transport offer. It's completely unfair that people on the lowest incomes can never get the discount that comes with annual travel passes or different types of direct debit with energy companies. Well, we're going to see if we can crack that by working through our credit unions, who are fantastic partners for us in our social economy. We will do this. We're going to create an annual B network pass, initially a bus pass, to start in January next year, that people will be able to buy via an interest-free weekly payment to a credit union. So the commitment they're making is that they're on the hook for an annual pass and they'll have to keep making those weekly payments. But that will be how we make sure people on the lowest incomes get the benefit of an annual pass. But there's many other things that we're doing as well. The point I'm making is, if you take public control of something as fundamental as transport, you can, through the social economy, start to help your residents live different lives. Now, building on that now, we are looking at other areas of Greater Manchester life that have kind of moved centre stage, and I know some of these are issues that you will be very much discussing today. Another fundamental we have to fix is housing. And I would always, myself, put housing and energy almost together, because you have to see kind of rents alongside people's bills and think about it in that way. I have asked the new Chief Executive of the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, who's our Group Chief Executive now, Caroline Simpson, to establish a GM Housing First unit at the heart of the Combined Authority. This is the biggest fundamental of them all. I talk about fixing the fundamentals, like transport. Well, in the hierarchy of fundamentals, housing is number one. And we are developing now a comprehensive whole system approach to dealing with housing, not just housing supply, which is often the only issue you really hear in the national political debate. Housing standards is something that we are determined to drive up. We brought through a Greater Manchester Good Landlord Charter through the combined authority last week, where we will seek to work with landlords who are trying to do the right thing and will live up to standards that are fair. But what that will do is it identifies those who aren't prepared to do that, aren't prepared to maintain their properties, aren't prepared to look after their tenants fairly and properly. And our message is, we're going to come after you if you are in that position. The days of people renting out homes here that are unfit and unsafe are coming to an end. And the way we'll bring those days to an end is we're going to introduce a new right for our residents to request a property check, so that they are empowered to take action against a landlord that is simply not treating them properly, leaving their kids in an unsafe home. And we will take on the enforcement against those people. The reason I mention that one is because it could create the conditions for quite significant market change and quite significant opportunity for new entrants to come in to housing, to take homes that have been in the private rented sector into new forms of management. And we'd be very much looking to people in this room to help us with that. Alongside that, there is the whole energy question that I mentioned as well. We are moving to a more localised energy system as we're charting that course to net zero. We've developed local area energy plans with all of our 10 districts, and we're about to go out to tender with some major projects in relation to local energy schemes. And we will want to ensure that our business is at the heart of that process, and making sure that where we can, we get schemes that recycle the wealth back into our communities and don't siphon it out as we've seen in the past. So you can see where our thinking is, and I'll just, I appreciate I've been late and I don't want to take too much time, but just to turn then to the whole area of what you might call support, benefits and support, social care. Here there's another, if we're thinking about fixing these fundamentals, fixing housing, fixing transport, then really moving on to trying to fix housing. Technical education is another subject I could have spoken about, but that's another one where we're working hard to create an equal alternative to the university route for our young people. Fixing the education system here is another big part of this. But then I think you also have to think about fixing support. We have piloted Housing First in Greater Manchester, as you may know, and the big learning from Housing First here is that if you set people up to succeed, then the vast majority of people will succeed. And that success comes from having a system that supports them and helps them in a different way. If I look at the current benefit system, it does the opposite. It sets people up to fail. It distrusts them, it kind of takes barely a breath before it sanctions them. This is the kind of system that we've got. It's a system where people walk in the door of Job Centre Plus, they come out of the door feeling worse about themselves than when they went in. How does that get people closer to work? So we're making a very big pitch here for devolved control of the benefit system. When I say this, I'm talking more about the support element of it, the employment support. And we believe that the big contracts that are being let that provide kind of very tick box, one size fits all type support, depersonalised sort of support, just aren't working. And what we would want to do is to take that funding and spend it through our local VCFSE sector. I have a vision that we would turn Job Centre Plus into Live Well centres, where we would crowd in local community, voluntary, social enterprise, cooperative organisations to help people in a very different way, much more personalised, localised way than is currently happening. And there is encouragement that we're getting to go in this direction from the government. I am prepared to make a big commitment here and make a pledge to the government that we will get more people into work from that approach than we ever will from the current approach. Alongside that, of course, you can look at how we might think differently about children's social care, and we already are doing some of that in Greater Manchester, thinking differently about mental health. We are moving next year to a single settlement with the UK government, which which isn't completely the same as Scotland and Wales, although it has similarities, where we will have the opportunity to spend money very differently. And what we are thinking is we will take a big step towards more prevention as part of our single settlement, where we will use that funding to support people with those basics, those fundamentals, to set them up for success, so that you don't spend huge amounts of public money supporting people, trying to help people in crisis, which is what we're doing at this moment in time. So as I stand here today and I think about this city in the next decade, and I'll make a political statement, hopefully with 2 terms of a Labour government ahead of us, I am thinking really carefully about, well, where would we be in 2034 if that's what we've got. We've got a decade of change, a decade of growth, a decade though of a very different way of thinking about the economy, and a more social economy in Greater Manchester. I think this place could be it could be a model really to not just the rest of the country but to the world, because of the instincts of our people. The way we've run things since the 80s have left us in a bad place, a very unequal place, a place where people don't have good lives and good work, they don't have good housing, they couldn't afford the transport. I think there's clarity that that doesn't get you where you want to be. So here's the opportunity, everybody. In this decade in front of us, we go at building a true social economy, where we bring different thinking to transport, to housing, to education, to all public services, but also critically to the way we support our residents on a daily basis, where we're not having an extractive approach to these things, where we just see homes as a commodity to be sold, where we start to see them as an essential right that everybody needs. If you think like that, I think you can see how we could reimagine a way of working where Greater Manchester actually, if it's got more devolved power, can put these values into action. And I am absolutely sure that the Greater Manchester in 2034 can be a lot better than the one I found in 2017, or even the one that we are now, although we are making progress in the direction I would want. So it is the best moment we will ever get. The social economy in Britain will never, in my view, get a better chance than this. The public can see. The public, excuse the language, see the shit in the rivers and the seas. They know that what we've been doing in the last 20, 30 years just does not work. They see the railways, they can't trust them, they can't use them. They've lost bus services. They've seen that, they understand that. So is there something different, and is there something better, and can we stop talking and start doing? That's my final challenge to you all today. I think we can. Thanks very much for listening, everybody.